Olivia Martin, a strong-willed widow, found herself burdened with an immense responsibility that seemed almost insurmountable. Her life, once filled with the comfort and companionship of her late husband, had transformed into a daily battle for survival. Each day was a test of her endurance, a relentless struggle to provide for her two precious children, Scarlett and Jackson. At 38 years old, the weight of her circumstances bore heavily on her, but her resolve remained unbroken. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. On this particular afternoon, as the sun began its slow descent, casting a golden hue over the sprawling landfill, Olivia was hard at work. The dump was a vast, chaotic expanse, filled with discarded items and the pungent smell of decay. Olivia's hands were dirty and sore from hours of sifting through the refuse, her eyes scanning the heaps of trash for anything of value. Her children, too young to comprehend the full extent of their mother's desperation, played nearby. Their laughter, though sweet and innocent, was a stark contrast to the grim reality of their situation. Scarlett, her youngest, with her wide, pleading eyes and tousled hair, approached Olivia, tugging gently at her tattered skirt. "Mama, I'm hungry," she said softly, her voice a painful reminder of their dire circumstances. Olivia's heart ached as she looked into her daughter's eyes, her forced smile unable to mask the sorrow she felt. "Soon, my love, soon," she assured her, though she herself was unsure of when or what their next meal would be. As she continued her search, Olivia's fingers brushed against something soft and unexpected amidst the hard, jagged edges of the trash. Curiosity piqued, she pulled the object free, revealing a luxurious carpet. The sight of such an opulent item in this desolate place took her breath away. Her heart raced with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Could this be a stroke of luck, a beacon of hope in their otherwise bleak existence? With trembling hands, Olivia unrolled the carpet, her breath catching in her throat as she discovered a thick envelope hidden within its folds. As she opened the envelope, her eyes widened in shock at the sight of the banknotes it contained. "This is a fortune," she whispered to herself, her mind racing with the possibilities this newfound wealth could bring. The thought of finally being able to provide for her children, to lift them out of their poverty, filled her with a cautious optimism. Just then, Jackson, her observant and curious son, approached. "Mama, what is it?" he asked, his innocent eyes filled with curiosity and concern. Olivia quickly hid the envelope, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Just an old carpet, my love. Let's take it home, it might be useful," she said, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy. As they gathered their belongings and prepared to leave, Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. In the distance, partially obscured by the gathering shadows, she noticed a figure watching them. The silhouette was indistinct, but its presence was unmistakable. "Scarlett," sensing her mother's unease, whispered, "Mama, who is that?" Olivia's grip tightened on her daughter's hand, her pulse quickening. "I don't know, dear, but we need to go home now," she said, her voice tinged with urgency. They quickened their pace, the children's laughter fading into the background as they hurried away. Jackson, ever the inquisitive one, couldn't help but ask, "Should we tell someone about the carpet?" His eyes searched Olivia's face for answers, his concern evident. "We'll decide that at home," Olivia replied, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. "For now, it's our secret." The walk home was tense, their quickened footsteps the only sound breaking the silence of the encroaching night. When Olivia glanced back, the mysterious figure had vanished, leaving her with an uneasy feeling that gnawed at her. At their humble shack, Olivia locked the fragile door, the sense of vulnerability weighing heavily on her. The walls, patched and worn, offered little comfort against the encroaching darkness. Her children, still hungry and tired, watched her with hopeful eyes, their faith in her unwavering. Determined to provide for them, Olivia managed to prepare a simple meal from the scant vegetables she had salvaged earlier. As they ate, the weight of the money hidden within the carpet pressed down on her, her mind racing with thoughts of what to do next. Scarlett's innocent question, "Mama, will we be all right?" hung in the air, a poignant reminder of the fragility of their situation. Olivia mustered a reassuring smile, though her heart was heavy with worry. "Yes, dear, we'll be all right. We just need to be careful," she replied, trying to hide the storm of emotions that churned within her. The night wore on, the envelope of money a silent testament to the glimmer of hope that had entered their lives, but also a source of immense uncertainty and fear. Olivia knew that their future depended on the decisions she made in the coming days, and the weight of that responsibility was overwhelming. Determined to protect her children, Olivia wrapped the envelope in an old cloth and reassured them that she would return soon. With a deep breath, she stepped into the dimly lit streets of their neighborhood, her footsteps echoing in the quiet night. She made her way to the small local police station, hoping to find someone she could trust. As she approached, she spotted Officer Ethan Johnson, a familiar figure patrolling nearby. Ethan had always been a reliable presence in the community, known for his kindness and dedication. "Ethan, I need your help," Olivia said, approaching him with the concealed envelope. "I found this today, and I'm afraid it might bring trouble." Ethan's expression turned serious as he examined the package. "Let's see what you found," he said, guiding her inside the station for privacy. Olivia recounted the day's events as Ethan carefully inspected the money. "You did the right thing bringing this here, Olivia. This amount of money is likely tied to something illegal. I'll record it and investigate using the serial numbers on the bills," he assured her, already beginning the necessary paperwork. Leaving the money in Ethan's care, Olivia felt a fleeting sense of relief. He promised to keep everything confidential until more information surfaced. As she walked back home, her heart pounded with uncertainty. Had she made the right choice? Upon reaching her house, a small envelope on the worn table caught her eye. She picked it up, her hands trembling as she read the handwritten note, "Stay out of this. Forget the money." Her blood ran cold. She looked around, seeing no one, and quickly shut the door behind her. Clutching the note, Olivia hugged her children tightly, vowing to protect them at all costs, even if it meant facing unknown dangers. In the following days, an oppressive tension settled over their lives. Externally, their routine remained the same, but internally, everything had changed. Olivia felt eyes watching her from every shadow. The once friendly neighbors now cast suspicious glances and whispered behind her back, fueling her growing sense of isolation. "Mama, why are people acting strange?" Jackson asked one morning, peering through the kitchen window. Olivia paused, thinking carefully before responding. "Sometimes people get scared when they don't understand something, dear. They know something happened, but they don't know what." Scarlett, overhearing the conversation, looked up with wide, worried eyes. "Do they think we did something bad?" "No, my dear. We didn't do anything wrong," Olivia reassured, smoothing Scarlett's hair and masking her own anxiety. Despite her attempts to maintain normalcy, the feeling of being watched persisted. A black car, unfamiliar and ominous, began driving slowly down their dirt road. The first time it passed, Olivia brushed it off as a coincidence. The second time, her heart beat faster. The third time, the car briefly stopped in front of their shack before continuing on, sending a wave of fear through her. That night, as her children slept, Olivia sat at the kitchen table, her hands trembling. The silence of the house contrasted sharply with the turmoil in her mind. Around midnight, the sound of an engine breaking the stillness jolted her upright. Peeking through the tattered curtain, she saw the black car parked across the street. A hooded figure emerged, walking purposefully toward her house. "This can't be a coincidence," she whispered, her voice tinged with both fear and resolve. She hurried to her children's room, gently waking them. "We need to go to the back of the house," she said softly, guiding them to a hidden corner where she stored tools and old boxes. As they huddled together in the cramped space, Olivia's mind raced. She had to keep her children safe. The sound of footsteps approaching the front door made her heart pound. She held her breath, listening intently. The door handle rattled, then fell silent. Moments stretched into eternity as they waited in tense silence. Finally, the footsteps retreated, and the sound of the car engine faded into the night. Olivia exhaled slowly, the immediate danger seemingly past, but the sense of dread remained. She knew this was only the beginning. Clutching her children close, she resolved to seek help from Ethan again and to find a way to secure their safety. The envelope of money, once a symbol of hope, had now become a source of peril. Olivia's determination to protect her family was unwavering, but she understood that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges and dangers she had yet to fully comprehend. "Mama, what's happening?" Jackson's voice trembled in the dark, cutting through Olivia's thoughts. "Stay quiet," she instructed firmly, though her heart was in turmoil. The minutes dragged on like hours as they waited in the oppressive silence, every noise outside seeming amplified in her ears. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they heard the engine roar to life and the car drive away. Olivia sighed in relief, but knew this was merely a warning, not an end to their troubles. "Let's go back to bed, okay?" she said, trying to instill a semblance of normalcy into the night for her children. As she tucked her children back into bed, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. The nocturnal visit was a stark reminder that danger was lurking ever closer. The next morning, Olivia, having barely slept, was already up as the first rays of dawn pierced the dusty horizon. She busied herself in the kitchen, making coffee, her mind clouded with fear and uncertainty. The aroma of coffee roused Scarlett and Jackson, who joined her, sensing the lingering tension in the air. "Mama, are you okay?" Jackson asked, his young face filled with concern as he noticed the deep circles under Olivia's eyes. She forced a smile, serving the coffee. "Yes, my love, just a little tired," she lied, masking her worries to protect her children. The previous day's sales had provided enough for a peaceful breakfast. Olivia's dream of finding a stable job, one that would allow her to provide her children with dignity, seemed ever distant. Prospective employers were scarce for someone in her situation, particularly when she couldn't afford decent clothes for interviews. She made do with what little they had, determined to keep moving forward. After breakfast, a sudden knock at the door made Olivia's heart skip a beat. She cautiously approached and opened it to find Ethan standing there, his expression grave. "Olivia, we need to talk," he said, stepping inside. "There have been developments regarding the money you found." She led him to their small kitchen table, her heart heavy with apprehension. Ethan looked at her seriously before continuing. "We've discovered that the money is directly linked to a large financial fraud network. More concerning, we know how they realized you had found it." Olivia felt a knot tighten in her throat. "How do they know?" she asked, dreading the answer. "A man was watching the dump when you found the carpet. A distant camera captured him leaving the carpet and shortly after, you discovering it. Unfortunately, we couldn't identify him from the footage. However, we traced the origin of the money and found that it belongs to Alexander Lopez. A name you might recognize. He is very influential and dangerous." Olivia's mind spun. Alexander Lopez was notorious in the city, a man with a dual reputation as both a philanthropist and someone with deep mafia connections. She had seen him in the neighborhood before, always surrounded by intimidating men. "What does he want from me?" Olivia asked, her voice trembling slightly. "He wants to ensure you don't cooperate with the police. He has a lot to lose if this investigation continues," Ethan explained, looking her directly in the eyes. No sooner had Ethan left than a noise outside caught Olivia's attention. Peeking through the window, she saw a sleek, expensive car park outside. It wasn't the black car from before, but its presence was no less foreboding. Out stepped Alexander Lopez himself, flanked by two large, menacing bodyguards. There was no time to flee. Heart pounding, Olivia opened the door, trying to suppress her fear. "Olivia, dear, I am Alexander Lopez. I believe you've heard of me in this town. We are all concerned about you," Alexander began, his voice smooth and deceptively kind. Olivia swallowed hard, every instinct screaming at her to run, but there was nowhere to go. "What do you want?" she managed to ask, her voice shaking. Alexander smiled, a cold, calculating look in his eyes. "I believe you have something that belongs to me. The money you found, it's part of a very delicate matter. I simply need your cooperation to ensure there are no misunderstandings." I took it to the police," Olivia stammered, hoping her honesty might somehow protect her. Alexander's smile faded slightly, his eyes narrowing. "That was a mistake, Olivia, but it can be fixed. You see, I have a reputation to maintain, and loose ends are not something I tolerate." Fear gripped Olivia's heart. "What do you want me to do?" she asked, feeling the weight of his threat. "Stay out of it. Do not speak to the police again. If you do as I say, you and your children will be safe. If not," he trailed off, letting the implication hang in the air. Olivia nodded, her mind racing. "I understand," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Good," Alexander replied, his smile returning. "Remember, Olivia, I always know what's happening in my town. I'll be watching with that." He turned and walked back to his car, his bodyguards trailing behind him. As the car drove away, Olivia stood in the doorway, shaking. She had hoped the police could protect her, but now she knew she was truly on her own. Clutching her children tightly that night, she vowed to do whatever it took to keep them safe, even if it meant living in constant fear of a man as powerful and dangerous as Alexander Lopez. "We heard about your find, and we are very impressed with your honesty," Alexander said with biting irony. It was clear from his tone that he detested Olivia for turning the money over to the police, a move that could potentially lead them to him. Despite the fear churning inside her, Olivia knew she couldn't show any weakness. She had to remain composed, or he would exploit any sign of vulnerability. "What do you want with me, Alexander?" she asked, keeping her voice as steady as possible. Alexander maintained his piercing gaze on her. "I just want to ensure there are no misunderstandings. It would be a shame if your cooperation with the police harmed the community. We both know that sometimes it's better to let things be, don't we? Pretend we didn't find anything." His words were a thinly veiled threat, and the chill that ran down Olivia's spine told her she was in deep trouble. Alexander wasn't just here to intimidate her, he was making a statement. By coming to her house, he showed that he didn't fear the police or anyone else. The neighbors would have seen his car at her door, a reminder of his power and his lack of fear. "I'll think about what you said," Olivia managed to reply, her voice betraying none of the fear she felt. Alexander's smile was cold and unfeeling. "Great, that's all I ask," he turned, signaling for his bodyguards to follow him as he returned to his car. After he left, Olivia felt a sense of impending doom. "I'll solve this," she said to herself, but the words felt hollow. Closing the door, she knew the challenge she faced was more formidable than she had ever imagined. In the days following Alexander Lopez's visit, Olivia felt like she was living under a magnifying glass. The neighbors' stares grew more intense, whispers more frequent, and the atmosphere around her house became increasingly oppressive. She tried to maintain a normal routine for Scarlett and Jackson, but the constant fear of retaliation consumed her every moment. "Mama, people are acting strange again," Jackson remarked as they returned from a quick trip to the local market. Olivia held his hand tightly, squeezing it slightly. "We will be fine. We just need to be strong," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. One day, after arriving home, Olivia noticed something scrawled on the front door. A message in red ink, hastily written, "Stop talking, or pay the price." Her heart raced. She looked around, searching for anyone who might have written the message, but the streets were eerily quiet. They wanted her to recant her report, perhaps claiming that the money was hers. "Mama, what does this mean?" Scarlett asked, her voice trembling with fear. Olivia quickly ushered her inside, locking the door behind them. "Nothing, dear. It's just someone trying to scare us," she said, trying to appear calm, though her heart was pounding. Moving away from the door, Olivia hurried to the public phone near her house and dialed Ethan's number with trembling hands, praying he would answer quickly. "Ethan, it's Olivia. Someone wrote a threat on my door." "I'm really scared now," she confessed, her voice a whisper. "I'm on my way," Ethan responded without hesitation. "Don't leave the house and keep the doors and windows locked." While waiting for Ethan, Olivia gathered the children in the living room, trying to distract them with games, but her mind was elsewhere. Every noise, every shadow passing by the window made her jump, her fear growing with each passing minute. Ethan arrived within minutes, knocking urgently on the door. Olivia ran to open it, relieved to see his familiar face. "Let me see the message," Ethan said, brushing past her to examine the door. His face hardened as he read the threatening words. "This is getting serious, Olivia. I'll have to report this and possibly request police surveillance around here." "Will that help?" Olivia asked, doubt clear in her voice. "We'll do everything we can," Ethan assured, though his voice carried a note of uncertainty. After Ethan left, Olivia sat on the sofa, watching Scarlett and Jackson play. She felt torn between telling them the whole truth about the danger they were in and maintaining a facade of normalcy to protect their innocence. As she sat there, the weight of her predicament settled heavily on her shoulders. She knew that to protect her children, she would have to be stronger and more resourceful than ever before. The fight was far from over, but for their sake, she couldn't afford to lose hope. On the rainy morning of the next day, Olivia heard a noise outside and opened the door to her house. On the ground at the entrance was a thick envelope with no address, only Olivia's name written on the front. Her heart raced as she quickly looked around before picking up the envelope and taking it inside. The anonymous handwriting and the absence of a sender already suggested that the contents would be more than disturbing. "Mama, did someone knock on the door?" Jackson asked, watching her from the living room. "No, dear. It must have been just a wrong delivery." I think Olivia lied, trying to keep her voice steady. As she headed to the kitchen to open the envelope in private, she hated lying to her son, but it was necessary to keep him safe. Inside, she found a stack of densely filled documents and photographs. Olivia began to flip through the papers, and with each page turned, her expression grew paler. The documents detailed a corruption network not only linked to Alexander Lopez but intertwined with several prominent public figures in the city. There were records of payments, overpriced contracts, and communications implicating a series of illegal activities. Someone had left this to help her with the report. It's much worse than I imagined," Olivia whispered to herself, feeling the weight of the truth in her hands. Determined to understand the situation better, Olivia spent the entire morning analyzing the documents, absorbing every detail, every implication. The connections went beyond what she could have imagined, reaching the highest spheres of local power. In the afternoon, while Scarlett and Jackson played in the yard, Olivia sat in a chair, contemplating her next steps. She knew that disclosing this information could trigger even more severe consequences, but she also understood that remaining silent could perpetuate the corruption that affected so many lives. It was then that the public phone in front of her house rang, breaking the street silence. Olivia ran to it and answered with trembling hands. Olivia Martin, a distorted voice, asked from the other end of the line. "Yes, it's me," she replied, caution evident in her voice. "You don't know me, but I know what you received today. It is crucial that you understand the seriousness of the information I sent you. Trust no one," the voice warned. Before Olivia could ask more, the call was disconnected. Olivia stood there, the phone still in her hand, the warning echoing in her mind. She needed help, but as the anonymous voice had warned, who could she trust? Olivia felt increasingly isolated in her fight, with the true extent of the corruption now clearly in front of her, more personal and closer than she could ever have imagined. Upon returning home, the documents remained spread out in front of her, each line a web of connections and corruption that now seemed to suffocate her. "Mama, do you want to play with us?" Scarlett called from the door with her innocent voice. "Later, dear," Olivia replied, forcing a smile. She got up, locking the documents in a drawer before joining the children. As she watched Scarlett and Jackson play, the seriousness of her situation became even more palpable. Protecting those two was her priority, but to what extent could she go without compromising their safety? Olivia's internal conflict grew. She pondered whether to expose the documents to the police and risk everything or remain safe but complicit in her silence. Each option carried its own weight, its own pain. "Mama, I'm going to Javier's house to play," Jackson shouted from the entrance, breaking Olivia's chain of thoughts. "Wait, Jackson, I'll go with," Olivia started to say, but he had already left before she could finish the sentence. Olivia's heart raced. She ran to the door, calling for him, but Jackson was already out of sight. Anxiety consumed her as she considered all the possible consequences of her decision to confront Alexander Lopez. Hours passed, and Jackson did not return. The sky was already tinged with shades of orange and purple when Olivia began searching for him, taking Scarlett with her. She started asking everyone if they had seen her son, however, no one knew his whereabouts. "Mama, where is Jackson?" "He will miss dinner," Scarlett asked, worry starting to form in her small eyes. Olivia tried to remain calm, but the anguish was evident in her voice. He must be around. He'll be back soon," she tried to convince herself as much as her daughter. When darkness finally set in and there was still no sign of Jackson, panic took hold of Olivia. She grabbed the public phone, her hands trembling as she dialed Ethan's number again. "Ethan, it's Olivia. My son Jackson, he's missing. He just went to a friend's house, and it's been hours." She stammered, her voice breaking with fear. "I'm on my way," Ethan responded urgently. "Stay where you are and keep Scarlett with you." While waiting for Ethan, Olivia's mind raced through 1,000 scenarios, each more terrifying than the last. She paced back and forth, unable to shake the dread that had settled over her. When Ethan arrived, he found Olivia nearly in tears, clutching Scarlett tightly. "Let's start by retracing Jackson's steps," Ethan suggested, trying to stay calm for Olivia's sake. They went door to door, asking neighbors if they had seen him, but no one had any information. The search continued late into the night, with Olivia growing more desperate by the minute. Finally, as the first light of dawn broke, they found a clue. A neighbor mentioned seeing Jackson talking to a man near the park earlier in the day. Olivia's heart sank. The description matched one of Alexander Lopez's bodyguards. Ethan took immediate action, calling in additional officers to assist in the search. Olivia felt a mix of fear and hope as they followed the lead. Hours later, Jackson was found, frightened but unharmed, hiding in an old shed at the edge of town. "Mama," he cried, running into Olivia's arms. Tears streamed down her face as she held him tightly, relief washing over her. "I'm so sorry, Jackson." "I should have kept you closer," Olivia whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "It's okay, Mama. I'm safe now," Jackson reassured her, his small arms wrapped around her neck. Ethan knelt down beside them. "We'll keep a close watch on your family, Olivia. Alexander Lopez won't get away with this," he vowed. Olivia nodded, grateful but still wary. She knew the fight was far from over. The documents in her drawer were a ticking time bomb, and she needed to find a way to use them to protect her family without putting them in further danger. As they walked back home, Olivia felt a renewed sense of determination. She would expose the corruption, but she would do it smartly, ensuring her family's safety came first. The battle was just beginning, and Olivia Martin was ready to face it head-on, no matter the cost. "I'll send a patrol right now, Olivia. "We will find him," Ethan assured firmly. Olivia hung up the phone, her heart pounding erratically. The idea that Jackson's disappearance could be related to her decision to fight corruption filled her with indescribable terror. She wondered if her pursuit of justice had gone too far, if the price to pay would be higher than she was willing to offer. The night dragged on slowly, and each minute without news of Jackson felt like an eternity to Olivia. She paced back and forth in the living room, frequently peeking out the window, hoping to see her son running back home. Scarlett, feeling the tension, played quietly in the corner, casting worried glances at her mother from time to time. Suddenly, Olivia heard the sound of a car approaching her house and went to the door immediately. She recognized Alexander Lopez's vehicle and trembled. If he had her son, Olivia would turn into a viper, ready to strike. "I won't let anyone hurt Jackson," she thought. "Where is my son?" she asked Alexander as soon as he approached close enough to hear her. "Your son, dear? You must be out of your mind," he replied sarcastically. "I came to propose a deal." Alexander's voice was flat. "If you do anything to Jackson," she threatened, leaving the sentence hanging, undeterred by the powerful man in front of her. "I can indeed do something to your son. That's why I need you to cooperate. I'll give you a large sum of money to ensure your silence about everything you discovered. You must hand over everything you know. That way you will never hear my name again, and your family will be safe," he said. Olivia knew he was lying. She would never be safe after returning Alexander's money and reporting him. "You have until tomorrow to decide otherwise. You will suffer the consequences," he finished, turning his back on Olivia. She knew he was neither lying nor exaggerating. Her heart pounded in her chest, her worry for her son growing. Olivia would not risk Jackson's life, but she knew that making a deal with Alexander would be futile. Olivia was still anxious when she heard police sirens. She ran to the door, fearing something had happened. It was Ethan who got out of a police car, his serious expression bringing a mix of relief and anxiety. "We found him," Ethan said quickly as Olivia opened the door. "He's okay. He was playing in a park nearby with his friend and lost track of time." Olivia let out a relieved sigh, feeling the weight of the world lift off her shoulders for a moment. "Thank you, Ethan." "Thank you for everything." He's coming. Ethan pointed to the car's interior where Jackson was stepping out, hesitant and visibly embarrassed. Jackson and a friend had gone to play outside the house, where he had lost track of time, which was why Olivia had not found him when she went there. Although Olivia had worried about the threats, fearing they had done something to her son, the situation proved to be a simple misunderstanding. Jackson was safe and had not been the target of any malicious acts involving his mother and the city's corruption. After a tight hug and many tears, Olivia prepared to thank Ethan again, but he interrupted her with a serious gesture. "We need to talk, Olivia, inside." Olivia told Ethan about Alexander's visit and his proposal. However, the policeman was not convinced. "You and I both know that making a deal with Alexander guarantees nothing in the long run. It's just a purchase of silence, not safety," Ethan replied. Olivia pondered deeply, every part of her being struggling with the moral dilemma before her. "I can't accept, not after everything I've seen and know. It would be the same as being an accomplice, but I fear for my children's lives," she confessed. Ethan nodded, respecting her decision. "I expected you to say that. I'll keep an eye on Jackson and Scarlett. I'll let all the officers know to keep them safe." "Thank you, Ethan," Olivia said, feeling a glimmer of hope amidst her worry. "But what should I do next?" "We'll keep gathering evidence. We need to strengthen the case against Lopez without putting you directly in harm's way," Ethan advised. "You should also think about moving to a safe house for a while. We can arrange protection for you and your children." Olivia nodded, realizing the gravity of the situation. "I'll do whatever it takes to keep my family safe, and I'll continue to fight for justice, but I need to know my children are out of danger." "I'll coordinate with my team," Ethan promised. "We'll make sure you have a secure place to stay and that you're protected at all times. We'll also set up a system so you can provide us with any new evidence discreetly." In the days that followed, Olivia moved to a safe house with Scarlett and Jackson. The constant presence of police officers reassured her, but the fear for their safety lingered. Despite the anxiety, Olivia continued to work with Ethan, passing along any new information she uncovered about Lopez's operations. The community also rallied around her, offering support and solidarity. The case against Alexander Lopez grew stronger, and with each passing day, Olivia felt more confident that justice would prevail. Her determination never wavered, fueled by the knowledge that she was fighting not just for her family, but for the entire community. One evening, as Olivia sat in the safe house, she received a call from Ethan. "We've got enough evidence to move forward," he said, his voice filled with determination. "We'll be making arrests soon. I wanted to let you know so you can prepare." Olivia felt a surge of relief and hope. "Thank you, Ethan. I couldn't have done this without you and your team." "We're in this together," Olivia Ethan replied. "You've shown incredible courage. Now it's time to bring Lopez to justice." As the police prepared to take down Alexander Lopez and his network, Olivia reflected on her journey. The fear and uncertainty she had faced were overwhelming, but her resolve had never faltered. She had fought tirelessly to protect her family and her community, and now the end was in sight. On the day of the arrests, Olivia watched from the safe house as news reports confirmed the takedown of Lopez's operation. The relief was palpable, but Olivia knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter. She had helped dismantle a corrupt empire, but the work of rebuilding and ensuring lasting justice was ongoing. With Alexander Lopez behind bars and his influence dismantled, Olivia and her family slowly returned to their normal lives. They moved back into their home, the community now a safer and more just place. The sense of fear that had once permeated their lives was replaced by hope and a renewed sense of purpose. Olivia continued to work with the community, advocating for transparency and integrity. Her story became a beacon of hope and resilience, inspiring others to stand up against corruption and injustice. Ethan remained a close ally, their bond strengthened by their shared fight. As she watched her children play in the yard of their new home, Olivia knew she had made the right choices. The battle had been long and arduous, but the peace and safety of her family and community were worth every struggle. She had not only survived but had emerged stronger, ready to face any future challenges with unwavering determination. After Ethan left, Olivia felt a strange mix of peace and fear. She was immensely grateful that Jackson was safe, but a gnawing dread lingered, making her hyper-aware of the potential dangers that still loomed. She prepared the children for bed, trying her best to maintain an air of normalcy despite the turmoil inside her. Feeling suffocated by worry, Olivia stepped outside for some fresh air. However, her sense of dread intensified when she noticed the front door ajar. She distinctly remembered locking it before going to the bedroom. On the worn table on her porch lay an envelope with several photographs of her and her children, accompanied by a message scribbled in red, "Think carefully about your choices." Olivia's heart raced as she picked up the envelope. The photographs depicted her daily life, clearly taken without her knowledge. Each image starkly reminded her of how closely they were being watched. The message was unequivocal: any move she made would be monitored, and any attempt to expose the corruption could put her children in direct danger. Taking a deep breath, Olivia went back inside, locking the door securely behind her. She couldn't let fear paralyze her, but she needed to be smart. Her children's safety was her utmost priority. She had to devise a plan to ensure their protection while she navigated this perilous situation. The next morning, Olivia contacted Ethan again, explaining the latest development. "This has escalated beyond just a threat," she said, her voice steady despite the fear. "I need to protect my children at all costs." Ethan listened intently, his expression serious. We'll increase patrols around your house. I'll also arrange for undercover officers to keep an eye on things. But Olivia, we need to find a way to expose Lopez without putting you or your children in danger." "I know," she replied. "But how? He has eyes everywhere. He knows every move I make." Ethan thought for a moment. "We need to gather more evidence, something so damning that he can't wiggle out of it. And we need to do it in a way that keeps you out of the spotlight." Olivia nodded, her resolve hardening. "I'll cooperate, but I need to be sure my children are safe. They can't be used as leverage." "I'll make sure of it," Ethan promised. "We'll work together on this. You're not alone, Olivia." Over the next few days, Olivia and Ethan devised a meticulous plan. Olivia would continue her daily routine, acting as though nothing had changed. Meanwhile, Ethan and his team would quietly gather more evidence against Lopez. They also arranged for a safe house where Olivia and her children could go if things became too dangerous. Despite the constant fear, Olivia found strength in the support she received from Ethan and his team. She focused on her children, ensuring they felt as safe and loved as possible. Scarlett and Jackson, though still aware of the tension, seemed to relax a little with the increased police presence. Ethan's strategy involved utilizing undercover officers to shadow Olivia subtly, blending into the background to avoid drawing attention. They collected incriminating evidence, following leads and documenting transactions that linked Lopez to his illicit activities. Ethan's team worked tirelessly, driven by the urgency of protecting Olivia and bringing Lopez to justice. Meanwhile, Olivia maintained her composure, interacting with her neighbors and continuing her daily routines. The knowledge that undercover officers were nearby provided her with a semblance of security, allowing her to focus on her children's well-being. Scarlett and Jackson, sensing their mother's renewed strength and the increased security measures, gradually adapted to the new normal. One evening, as Olivia tucked Scarlett into bed, her daughter looked up with wide, trusting eyes. "Mama, will everything be okay?" Olivia smiled gently, brushing a strand of hair from Scarlett's face. "Yes, my love. Everything will be okay. We just need to stay strong and stick together." The days turned into weeks, and the tension began to ease slightly. Ethan's team made significant progress, gathering undeniable evidence against Lopez. They documented secret meetings, recorded conversations, and compiled a comprehensive case that would be impossible to refute. Olivia's cooperation was instrumental in this endeavor, her courage and resilience shining through despite the looming threat. One morning, Ethan called Olivia with a sense of urgency in his voice. "We've got everything we need. We're ready to move forward." Olivia's heart leaped with a mix of relief and apprehension. "What happens now?" "We're going to execute the plan. We'll arrest Lopez and his associates. You and your children will be moved to the safe house temporarily, just as a precaution." Olivia nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Thank you, Ethan, for everything." The day of the operation arrived. Undercover officers swarmed Lopez's known locations, executing arrest warrants and seizing evidence. Olivia and her children were discreetly moved to the safe house, where they would remain until the dust settled. The operation was swift and efficient, a culmination of meticulous planning and unwavering determination. As news of the arrests broke, the community's reaction was one of shock and relief. The shadow of corruption that had loomed over them for so long was finally being lifted. Olivia, though temporarily hidden away, felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had faced immense danger, but her perseverance and the unwavering support of Ethan and his team had brought about justice. After a few tense days in the safe house, Ethan visited Olivia, his expression one of triumph. "It's over. Lopez and his associates are in custody. The evidence is overwhelming. You did it, Olivia." Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes as she embraced Ethan. "We did it. "Thank you, Ethan." As Olivia and her children returned to their home, they were greeted by supportive neighbors and friends. The community had been transformed by their bravery, and Olivia's story became a symbol of resilience and justice. With Lopez behind bars and his influence dismantled, Olivia and her family could finally begin to heal and rebuild. The road ahead was still challenging, but Olivia faced it with a renewed sense of hope and determination. She knew that her fight had made a difference, not just for her family, but for the entire community. And with the support of Ethan and her neighbors, she was ready to face whatever challenges came their way, united in their pursuit of a brighter, more just future. One evening, as Olivia was preparing dinner, she received a call from Ethan. "We've got something," he said, his voice urgent, "a witness willing to testify against Lopez. This could be the breakthrough we need." Olivia's heart lifted with hope. "Is it safe?" "We're taking every precaution," Ethan assured her, "but we need to move quickly. Can you meet me at the station tomorrow morning?" "I'll be there," Olivia replied, determination filling her voice. The following morning, Olivia made sure Scarlett and Jackson were safely at school before heading to the police station. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. Ethan introduced her to the witness, a former associate of Lopez who had decided to come forward. The evidence he provided was damning, detailing Lopez's involvement in multiple illegal activities. "This is it," Ethan said, looking at Olivia. "With this testimony and the documents you have, we can bring Lopez down." As they prepared to finalize their plan, Olivia couldn't help but feel a mixture of relief and anxiety. The end of her nightmare seemed within reach, but the danger was still very real. She knew the coming days would be critical, and she steeled herself for the final battle. With the support of the police and the newfound evidence, Olivia felt a renewed sense of purpose. She would see this through to the end, not just for herself, but for her children and for the countless others affected by Lopez's corruption. The fight was far from over, but Olivia Martin was ready to face whatever came next, armed with truth and an unwavering determination to protect her family. Trembling, Olivia gathered the photographs, realizing that her decision to fight had only intensified the dangerous game she was involved in. She now knew that every step forward would be even more dangerous, but backing down was not an option. The challenge was just beginning. The next day, 24 hours after Alexander's threat, near the time limit he had set, the situation worsened. Olivia received a call on the public phone from Ethan's police partner. The urgency in his voice was unmistakable. "Olivia, I need you to come to the hospital now." "What happened?" Olivia's voice trembled, fearing the answer. "Ethan was found in the park this morning, severely injured. He is in critical condition, intubated. He couldn't speak, but he asked me to tell you something immediately," Marco said, his voice carrying a weight that made Olivia's heart sink. Without losing a second, Olivia arranged for someone to watch the children and ran to the hospital. The white and sterile corridor of the hospital seemed to stretch infinitely as she made her way to the ICU where Ethan was admitted. Entering the room, Olivia was confronted with the sight of Ethan, motionless in the hospital bed, surrounded by tubes and machines beeping intermittently. Tears flooded her eyes as she saw her friend and ally in that state. Marco, Ethan's police partner, placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. He was attacked from behind with no chance to defend himself. It seems they knew exactly when he would be alone, Marco explained, the barely contained anger in his voice. Olivia felt a mix of pain and anger. Why would they do this to him, she asked, though deep down she knew the answer. "They want to intimidate you, Olivia. They want you to stop," Marco said directly, his gaze fixed on hers. The reality of those words hit Olivia like a blow. The attack on Ethan was not just a message for him, but a clear warning to her. As she sat beside Ethan's bed, holding his cold hand, Olivia pondered what to do. With every moment spent beside her injured friend, She felt her determination harden. "They want me to stop and drop the report," she murmured to herself. "But I can't, not now." Returning home that night, Olivia felt the weight of her decision. She knew that continuing to fight could bring even more severe consequences, but the alternative, silence, now seemed impossible. As she opened the door to her house, a sense of desolation washed over her. It was clear that her fight had cost her a lot, and the price could continue to rise. "My God, please protect me. I just wanted to return the money and do the right thing," she prayed, scared. Olivia had barely closed the door behind her when she noticed something strange. An envelope carelessly tossed on the doormat. Her name was scribbled on it in grotesque letters. Trembling, Olivia picked up the envelope and tore it open with hesitant hands. Inside, she found a single sheet of paper with a message written in bold letters: "This is your last warning." Olivia held the paper with trembling hands, the reality of her situation more palpable than ever. With each decision, each step she took, the shadow of danger lengthened, touching everything and everyone she loved. The weeks following the last warning were marked by a palpable tension that seemed to envelop Olivia's house like a thick fog. Every day she reinforced the security of her home, adding more wood to block the door and installing new barricades on the windows. Life inside their home became a series of carefully orchestrated routines to ensure everyone's safety. One cloudy afternoon, while Olivia was organizing the documents she had received, an unexpected call broke the apprehensive monotony. It was Marco, Ethan's partner, with news that made her heart stop for a moment. "Olivia, you won't believe it. Ethan woke up and he's talking. He wants to testify, to tell everything he knows about Alexander Lopez's connections to corruption in the city. You need to testify too." Olivia felt a mix of relief and fear. "I'm glad Ethan is better, Marco, but is it safe after everything that's happened? We're taking all precautions. Ethan is under police protection, and we're planning the hearing so that everything is kept secret until the last possible moment," Marco explained, his voice carrying a firm determination. In the days leading up to the testimony, Olivia felt torn between the hope that they could finally expose the truth and the persistent fear of more reprisals. She visited Ethan in the safe location where he was being kept, finding him remarkably recovered but still marked by the events that had almost cost him his life. "Olivia, we can't let him get away with this. He had me attacked, and he's threatening you. I'm sure he does this to others too. This is bigger than me, bigger than us," Ethan said, with a conviction that strengthened Olivia's resolve. Returning home on the eve of the day scheduled for the testimony, Olivia prepared a meal for her children with the little she had in the cupboards, trying to seal the anxiety that pulsed beneath her calm exterior. After putting Scarlett and Jackson to bed, she allowed herself a few moments of quiet, looking up at the starry sky, seeking some peace before the storm she knew was approaching. It was almost midnight when the phone rang, tearing through the night's silence with its urgent tone. Olivia answered, her heart pounding. "Olivia, it's me, Ethan. Someone is trying to break in where I'm hiding. I can hear noises outside. It seems they know where I am. Try to stay in a safe place. They might come to you too." Olivia's blood ran cold. "I'll call Marco right now and they'll send reinforcements to us." "Hold on." Ethan hanging up the phone, Olivia felt each heartbeat like a hammer in her consciousness. She knew the next few hours would be crucial. As she called Marco to inform him of the situation, a sense of despair took hold of her, mixed with a fierce determination. She wouldn't let fear define the end of this fight. Ethan had decided to face danger to tell the truth, and she would stand by him no matter what. The hours that followed Ethan's call were unbearably tense. Olivia could barely stay still, pacing the house while waiting for news. Finally, the sun began to brighten the sky, bringing with it the day of the trial that could change everything. Upon arriving at the courthouse, Olivia felt everyone's eyes on her. Some looks were sympathetic, others disdainful, and some carried a malicious gleam. Marco informed her that Ethan was safe, that the police had responded in time to prevent the worst. With that small relief, Olivia prepared to enter the courtroom, knowing that now everything was crucial. Ethan was already in the courtroom, looking pale and somewhat fragile, but his determination was palpable. They exchanged a look of complicity and strength before taking their places. The trial began with the prosecutor outlining the web of corruption, citing evidence and calling witnesses who bravely detailed how Alexander Lopez and his accomplices manipulated contracts and bribed officials. Ethan was one of the key witnesses, and his testimony was both a recounting of the corruption and an act of defiance. Olivia observed every face in the courtroom, trying to read their reactions. Alexander Lopez was present, impeccably dressed, his posture calm, but his eyes were hard and cold. Beside him, his lawyers whispered fervently, taking notes on Ethan's every word. When it was Olivia's turn to testify, she walked to the front with firm steps, despite the fear she felt. With each word she spoke, she exposed not only Alexander's crimes but also her own vulnerability. During a recess, as Olivia returned to her seat, a man she recognized as one of Alexander's closest associates approached her discreetly. He passed her a note. Olivia took it with trembling hands and unfolded it under the table, reading the hastily written words, "This won't end here." Be careful. Olivia's blood ran cold. She looked around to see if anyone else had noticed the exchange, but everyone was busy with their own conversations and preparations for the next session. When the trial resumed, Olivia felt each word of the threat burning in her mind. She tried to focus on the proceedings, on the lawyer's questions, on the witnesses' answers, but part of her was always alert, always waiting for the next blow. The courtroom was heavy with tension, people murmuring, the air thick with anticipation. "This isn't just a case of corruption, it's a matter of justice and humanity," Olivia declared, her voice echoing through the attentive silence of the courtroom. "I chose not to remain silent because silence makes us complicit. I chose to fight not for myself, but for all those who have no voice against this mafia." At the end of her testimony, a respectful silence hung in the air, broken only by the judge calling the next witness. Olivia returned to her seat, feeling the weight of her words settle on everyone's shoulders. When the court finally adjourned for the day, Olivia stood, exhausted but resilient. A crowd gathered outside the courthouse. At the front were supporters of Alexander Lopez, their faces contorted with anger and disdain. They must have been threatened to be there, holding signs, shouting threatening words, and blocking Olivia's exit. The hatred in their eyes was evident and frightening. Olivia paused, her heart pounding erratically. Marco placed a hand on her shoulder, whispering, "We're not alone in this." Looking around, she saw that some in the courtroom, touched by her testimony, began to join her, forming a human shield. Together, they walked towards the exit, facing the shouts and hostile looks. Back at the refuge of her home, after the confrontation at the courthouse, Olivia was relieved to see Scarlett and Jackson playing quietly on the living room floor, their innocent laughter a sharp contrast to the gravity Olivia felt after the testimony. She joined them on the floor, trying to find comfort in the normalcy of being a mother, but her mind was restless. What if I've gone too far, she wondered, looking at her children. What if my fight for justice only puts them in greater danger later? As she put them to bed, Olivia kissed their foreheads, trying to convey a calm she didn't feel. "Good night, my loves." "Everything will be okay," she murmured, more as a promise to herself than as a guarantee to them. After ensuring they were asleep, Olivia sat at the table under the dim light, allowing herself a moment of despair. The fight seemed endless, and for a moment, she pondered the possibility of giving up. Then, the public phone on the street rang, slicing through the night silence like an alarm bell. Olivia, her heart pounding with apprehension, hurried to it, dreading it might be a call from someone sent by Alexander. Olivia Martin, the voice on the other end, was heavily distorted, almost unrecognizable due to a voice modulator. "Yes, who's speaking?" Olivia responded, her voice quivering with unease. "I can't disclose my identity, but I possess the final piece of evidence that could shift the balance in your favor, ensuring Alexander Lopez and his accomplices don't escape justice this time." Olivia's heart raced, her mind swirling with a mix of hope and skepticism. "How can I trust you? How do I know this isn't a trap?" she questioned, her voice betraying her fear. "You have no way of knowing," the voice admitted, "but I provided you with the previous documents about Alexander. You know you're safe with me. Meet me at the city park at dawn alone. If you seek the truth, come and find it." The call ended abruptly, leaving Olivia holding the receiver, her thoughts a whirlwind. This could be her last chance to obtain the justice she so desperately sought, but it also carried a significant risk. Olivia spent the night in restless contemplation, her mind torn between hope and fear. As the first light of dawn broke, she resolved to take the risk, strengthened by the belief that her quest for justice was greater than her own safety. With renewed determination, she prepared for the meeting, knowing this could be the decisive moment in her relentless fight against corruption. As the early morning mist still clung to the park, Olivia walked towards the rendezvous point, her steps steady despite the uncertainty. The fog shrouded the park, casting an eerie veil over the benches and trees, turning the scene into one of mystery and tension. She remained vigilant, her eyes scanning for any sign of danger. Finally, she spotted a solitary figure near the lake, cloaked in a large coat. Approaching cautiously, Olivia felt the weight of the moment. This could be either a trap or the key to her victory. The figure lowered its hood, revealing a woman with eyes hardened by grim determination. "Olivia Martin," the woman asked softly. "Yes, that's me." "You said you had something for me," Olivia replied, striving to keep her composure. The woman handed her a thick envelope. "I used to work for Alexander Lopez. These are recordings of him admitting to everything, from bribes to manipulations. I can't bear this burden any longer. I hope this helps." Olivia's hands trembled as she accepted the envelope. "Why now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've seen the damage he's caused to people, to you. I can't be a part of it anymore. I thought being on his side would protect me, but it only filled me with guilt." The woman explained before hastily departing, leaving Olivia alone with the incriminating evidence. The next day, Olivia brought the recordings to the courthouse. As the tapes played, the courtroom fell silent. Alexander attempted to defend himself, but the evidence was undeniable. During the trial, he was forced to confess his motivations in a shocking admission. "I thought I could control everything and everyone. Power blinded me to justice and morality. I was wrong," Alexander confessed, his once imposing demeanor now shattered. At the end of the trial, the judge addressed Olivia directly before delivering the sentence. "Mrs. Martin, your bravery and determination have not only exposed a deep network of corruption, but have also protected this community from future harm. It is only right that you are compensated for your heroism and the hardships you endured." The judge ordered a significant portion of Alexander Lopez's confiscated assets to be awarded to Olivia as reparation and recognition for her crucial role in the case. With this financial reward, Olivia secured a promising educational future for Scarlett and Jackson and purchased a new home, symbolizing a fresh start for her family. In the weeks that followed, Olivia's story became a beacon of courage and integrity in the community. Her actions inspired others to speak out against injustice and threats, proving that one person's determination could indeed make a monumental difference. Then, as Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point, she remembered the dark nights filled with fear and uncertainty. She remembered the relentless determination that had kept her moving forward, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. She had faced down a powerful adversary, risking everything to bring the truth to light. And now, as she looked around at her new home, her children's smiling faces, and the supportive community, she felt a profound sense of peace and accomplishment. Her victory was not just a personal triumph, but a testament to the power of perseverance and the importance of standing up for what is right, no matter the cost. Olivia Martin had become a symbol of resilience and integrity, her story a powerful reminder that justice, though often elusive, is worth fighting for. And with each day that passed, she knew she had made the right choice, not only for herself but for her children and for the countless others who would be inspired by her courage. Her journey had been fraught with danger and doubt, but in the end, it had led her to a place of strength and hope. Olivia's battle had transformed her, revealing a depth of courage she hadn't known she possessed. And as she moved forward, she carried with her the knowledge that she had made a difference, that her actions had helped to create a safer, more just world for her children and her community. "You changed our city," Mama Jackson said, his voice filled with admiration as they gazed at the starry sky from the yard of their new house. Olivia smiled, gently stroking her son's hair. "We changed it, my love, all of us who chose to speak out. And we will continue to change it, always for the better this peace, knowing that their fight had been worth it, was the greatest reward of all." 5 years after the trial that shook the foundations of their city, Olivia watched her children in the yard of their new home, a spacious, sunlit house symbolizing the new life they had built. Scarlett, now a bright and ambitious teenager, studied under the shade of a lush tree, while Jackson, older and nearly a young man, tended to the garden plants. The education Olivia had secured with the financial reward transformed their lives. Scarlett excelled in sciences, dreaming of becoming an engineer, while Jackson developed a deep passion for literature, often found with a book in hand, lost in the worlds created by words. Finally, Olivia had found a stable job, and the children no longer faced hardship, living happily alongside their dedicated mother. The community around them had also transformed. Where fear and corruption once reigned, a spirit of cooperation and justice now flourished. Olivia had played a crucial role in this transformation, not just as the woman who took down Alexander Lopez, but as an inspiring figure who continued to work with the community to ensure the shadows of the past did not return. Alexander Lopez and his accomplices, after being sentenced, spent their days in prison. The recordings brought by his former assistant had been the final blow to his web of corruption, dismantling not only his illicit operations, but also serving as a stern warning to others who might venture down similar paths. Ethan, having fully recovered from his injuries, had risen to the position of local police chief, spearheading an era of reforms and transparency within the force. He and Olivia maintained a strong friendship, united by a shared history of struggle and triumph. Ethan frequently visited Olivia's house, each visit a reminder of their shared journey and the bonds they had forged. One peaceful afternoon during one of Ethan's visits, Olivia prepared tea while reflecting on the impact of her story. Her fight had been turned into a local documentary, now used in schools as a lesson on the importance of integrity and courage. "It's strange to think that our story is studied," Olivia commented as they sat in the garden. "I just returned the money and reported what I discovered. I just did my part." "But it's important," Ethan replied. "It's a reminder that no matter how difficult the battle, it's worth fighting for what's right. Staying honest, no matter the challenges, is essential." Ethan's company always brought laughter and a sense of warmth. They sat in the garden as the sun set behind the trees, their conversation flowing between memories of dark times and plans for a brighter future. "You changed our city, Olivia. You changed our lives," Ethan said, raising his glass in a toast. Olivia smiled, watching her children join them. "We changed it, all of us, and we will continue to change it, always for the better." As night fell over the city that once trembled under the weight of corruption, now illuminated by the promise of justice and renewal, Olivia felt a profound sense of peace, not only for having won the battle, but for knowing that her fight would inspire others to confront the darkness, to stand up and speak out, no matter how powerful the forces against them. In that truth, Olivia found not only peace but a purpose that would define the rest of her days. Her legacy was one of courage and resilience, a beacon of hope for future generations. As they walked back home, Olivia felt a renewed sense of determination. She would expose the corruption, but she would do it smartly, ensuring her family's safety came first. The battle was just beginning, and Olivia Martin was ready to face it head-on, no matter the cost. "I'll send a patrol right now, Olivia. We will find him," Ethan assured firmly. Olivia hung up the phone, her heart pounding erratically. The idea that Jackson's disappearance could be related to her decision to fight corruption filled her with indescribable terror. She wondered if her pursuit of justice had gone too far, if the price to pay would be higher than she was willing to offer. The night dragged on slowly, and each minute, without news of Jackson, felt like an eternity to Olivia. She paced back and forth in the living room, frequently peeking out the window, hoping to see her son running back home. Scarlett, feeling the tension, played quietly in the corner, casting worried glances at her mother from time to time. Suddenly, Olivia heard the sound of a car approaching her house and went to the door immediately. She recognized Alexander Lopez's vehicle and trembled. If he had her son, Olivia would turn into a viper, ready to strike. "I won't let anyone hurt Jackson," she thought. "Where is my son?" she asked Alexander as soon as he approached close enough to hear her. "Your son, dear? You must be out of your mind," he replied sarcastically. "I came to propose a deal." Alexander's voice was flat. "If you do anything to Jackson," she threatened, leaving the sentence hanging, undeterred by the powerful man in front of her. "I can indeed do something to your son. That's why I need you to cooperate. I'll give you a large sum of money to ensure your silence about everything you discovered. You must hand over everything you know. That way you will never hear my name again, and your family will be safe," he said. Olivia knew he was lying. She would never be safe after returning Alexander's money and reporting him. "You have until tomorrow to decide otherwise. You will suffer the consequences," he finished, turning his back on Olivia. She knew he was neither lying nor exaggerating. Her heart pounded in her chest, her worry for her son growing. Olivia would not risk Jackson's life, but she knew that making a deal with Alexander would be futile. Olivia was still anxious when she heard police sirens. She ran to the door, fearing something had happened. It was Ethan who got out of a police car, his serious expression bringing a mix of relief and anxiety. "We found him," Ethan said quickly as Olivia opened the door. "He's okay. He was playing in a park nearby with his friend and lost track of time." Olivia let out a relieved sigh, feeling the weight of the world lift off her shoulders for a moment. "Thank you, Ethan. Thank you for everything." He's coming. Ethan pointed to the car's interior where Jackson was stepping out, hesitant and visibly embarrassed. Jackson and a friend had gone to play outside the house, where he had lost track of time, which was why Olivia had not found him when she went there. Although Olivia had worried about the threats, fearing they had done something to her son, the situation proved to be a simple misunderstanding. Jackson was safe and had not been the target of any malicious acts involving his mother and the city's corruption. After a tight hug and many tears, Olivia prepared to thank Ethan again, but he interrupted her with a serious gesture. "We need to talk. Olivia, inside." Olivia told Ethan about Alexander's visit and his proposal. However, the policeman was not convinced. "You and I both know that making a deal with Alexander guarantees nothing in the long run. It's just a purchase of silence, not safety," Ethan replied. Olivia pondered deeply, every part of her being struggling with the moral dilemma before her. "I can't accept, not after everything I've seen and know. It would be the same as being an accomplice, but I fear for my children's lives," she confessed. Ethan nodded, respecting her decision. "I expected you to say that. I'll keep an eye on Jackson and Scarlett. I'll let all the officers know to keep them safe." After Ethan left, Olivia felt a strange mix of peace and fear. She was immensely grateful that Jackson was safe, but a gnawing dread lingered, making her hyper-aware of the potential dangers that still loomed. She prepared the children for bed, trying her best to maintain an air of normalcy despite the turmoil inside her. Feeling suffocated by worry, Olivia stepped outside for some fresh air. However, her sense of dread intensified when she noticed the front door ajar. She distinctly remembered locking it before going to the bedroom. On the worn table on her porch lay an envelope with several photographs of her and her children, accompanied by a message scribbled in red, "Think carefully about your choices." Olivia's heart raced as she picked up the envelope. The photographs depicted her daily life, clearly taken without her knowledge. Each image starkly reminded her of how closely they were being watched. The message was unequivocal: any move she made would be monitored, and any attempt to expose the corruption could put her children in direct danger. Taking a deep breath, Olivia went back inside, locking the door securely behind her. She couldn't let fear paralyze her, but she needed to be smart. Her children's safety was her utmost priority. She had to devise a plan to ensure their protection while she navigated this perilous situation. The next morning, Olivia contacted Ethan again, explaining the latest development. "This has escalated beyond just a threat," she said, her voice steady despite the fear. "I need to protect my children at all costs." Ethan listened intently, his expression serious. "We'll increase patrols around your house. I'll also arrange for undercover officers to keep an eye on things. But Olivia, we need to find a way to expose Lopez without putting you or your children in danger." "I know," she replied. "But how? He has eyes everywhere. He knows every move I make." Ethan thought for a moment. "We need to gather more evidence, something so damning that he can't wiggle out of it. And we need to do it in a way that keeps you out of the spotlight." Olivia nodded, her resolve hardening. "I'll cooperate, but I need to be sure my children are safe. They can't be used as leverage." "I'll make sure of it," Ethan promised. "We'll work together on this. You're not alone, Olivia." Over the next few days, Olivia and Ethan devised a meticulous plan. Olivia would continue her daily routine, acting as though nothing had changed. Meanwhile, Ethan and his team would quietly gather more evidence against Lopez. They also arranged for a safe house where Olivia and her children could go if things became too dangerous. Despite the constant fear, Olivia found strength in the support she received from Ethan and his team. She focused on her children, ensuring they felt as safe and loved as possible. Scarlett and Jackson, though still aware of the tension, seemed to relax a little with the increased police presence. Ethan's strategy involved utilizing undercover officers to shadow Olivia subtly, blending into the background to avoid drawing attention. They collected incriminating evidence, following leads and documenting transactions that linked Lopez to his illicit activities. Ethan's team worked tirelessly, driven by the urgency of protecting Olivia and bringing Lopez to justice. Meanwhile, Olivia maintained her composure, interacting with her neighbors and continuing her daily routines. The knowledge that undercover officers were nearby provided her with a semblance of security, allowing her to focus on her children's well-being. Scarlett and Jackson, sensing their mother's renewed strength and the increased security measures, gradually adapted to the new normal. One evening, as Olivia tucked Scarlett into bed, her daughter looked up with wide, trusting eyes. "Mama, will everything be okay?" Olivia smiled gently, brushing a strand of hair from Scarlett's face. "Yes, my love, everything will be okay. We just need to stay strong and stick together." The days turned into weeks, and the tension began to ease slightly. Ethan's team made significant progress, gathering undeniable evidence against Lopez. They documented secret meetings, recorded conversations, and compiled a comprehensive case that would be impossible to refute. Olivia's cooperation was instrumental in this endeavor, her courage and resilience shining through despite the looming threat. One morning, Ethan called Olivia with a sense of urgency in his voice. "We've got everything we need. We're ready to move forward." Olivia's heart leaped with a mix of relief and apprehension. What happens now? We're going to execute the plan. We'll arrest Lopez and his associates. You and your children will be moved to the safe house temporarily, just as a precaution. Olivia nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Thank you, Ethan, for everything. The day of the operation arrived. Undercover officers swarmed Lopez's known locations, executing arrest warrants and seizing evidence. Olivia and her children were discreetly moved to the safe house, where they would remain until the dust settled. The operation was swift and efficient, a culmination of meticulous planning and unwavering determination. As news of the arrest broke, the community's reaction was one of shock and relief. The shadow of corruption that had loomed over them for so long was finally being lifted. Olivia, though temporarily hidden away, felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had faced immense danger, but her perseverance and the unwavering support of Ethan and his team had brought about justice. After a few tense days in the safe house, Ethan visited Olivia, his expression one of triumph. It's over. Lopez and his associates are in custody. The evidence is overwhelming. You did it, Olivia. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes as she embraced Ethan. We did it. Thank you, Ethan. As Olivia and her children returned to their home, they were greeted by supportive neighbors and friends. The community had been transformed by their bravery, and Olivia's story became a symbol of resilience and justice. With Lopez behind bars and his influence dismantled, Olivia and her family could finally begin to heal and rebuild. The road ahead was still challenging, but Olivia faced it with a renewed sense of hope and determination. She knew that her fight had made a difference, not just for her family, but for the entire community. And with the support of Ethan and her neighbors, she was ready to face whatever challenges came their way, united in their pursuit of a brighter, more just future. A widow with 2 children saw that a wealthy man had thrown a luxury carpet into the dump. She quickly decided to take it and unroll it. As soon as she opened it, her entire body trembled. The afternoon was slowly fading at the dump, where a woman was rummaging for something edible to take home. Olivia Martin was desperately searching for something to feed her children. Scarlett and Jackson played at a safe distance, too innocent to realize their mother's despair at not being able to provide them with a simple meal. Olivia, a woman with strong and determined features, carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. Widowed at 38, her life had become a daily series of challenges after losing her husband. "Mama, I'm hungry," complained Scarlett, her youngest daughter, tugging gently at her mother's skirt. Olivia smiled sadly at her, assuring her that they would soon find something to eat, though she wasn't sure of it herself. As she sifted through a more distant pile of garbage, Olivia felt her fingers touch something surprisingly soft. Pulling the object, she discovered a luxurious carpet, incredibly out of place in that environment. Her heart raced at the thought that such a piece could be worth some money. But what she found next left her breathless. Hidden within the folds of the carpet was a thick envelope full of banknotes. "That's a lot of money," she murmured to herself, instinctively looking around. The decision about what to do with the discovery weighed on her like a stone. "Mama, what is it?" Jackson approached, curious, seeing his mother's worried expression. Olivia quickly hid the envelope. "Nothing, my love. Just an old carpet," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Let's take it home, it might be useful." As they prepared to leave the dump, Olivia noticed a distant figure watching them. The silhouette was shrouded in the falling twilight, making it difficult to discern any details. The presence of the observer made her heart race, mixing fear with the adrenaline of the discovery. "Mama, who is that person watching us?" Scarlett asked, her voice low and tinged with fear. Olivia gripped her daughter's hand tighter. "I don't know, dear, but let's go home now," she said, quickening her pace with the children by her side. "Should we tell someone about what we found?" Jackson asked about the expensive carpet his mother was carrying, his eyes fixed on her, trying to read her expression. "We'll decide that at home," Olivia replied, her mind spinning with the implications of what the discovery could mean. "For now, we need to keep this between us." They hurried away, the sound of their quickened steps blending with the murmurs of the falling night. The figure watching them remained still, and when Olivia looked back one last time, it had disappeared. The uncertainty of that sight left her uneasy, but the need to protect her children and the possible solution to their financial difficulties drove her forward. After discovering the envelope full of money, Olivia locked the fragile door of her shack with a growing sense of discomfort. The humble home, made up of worn wooden walls and a roof that barely kept out the rain, seemed even more vulnerable that night. Scarlett and Jackson watched their mother with sad eyes, still remembering the hunger they had expressed earlier. Before deciding on the next step, Olivia improvised a simple meal with some vegetables she had managed to salvage earlier, calming her children's rumbling stomachs. As they ate, the weight of what she had found did not lessen her nervousness. She knew she needed advice and help, but without a phone at home, her only option was to seek help in person. "Mama, will we be okay?" Scarlett asked innocently, nibbling on a spoonful of dinner. Olivia smiled at her, though her heart was tight with worry. "We will, dear. We just need to be careful," she replied, trying to hide her anxiety. What have you learned from this story so far? Please share in the comments one thing you've learned and will bring into practice in your life. If you liked this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support motivates us to continue bringing you exciting stories almost every day. Thank you for being with us. Now, you can click on the links appearing on the screen right now for more valuable stories and guaranteed entertainment. See you there.